Praktica Super TL1000 is a 135 format single lens reflex camera that was produced by the hundreds of thousands. In fact, 318,637 of these delightful heaps of metal, plastic and glass were produced between 1980 and 1984 by the VEB Pentacon company in Dresden in the ironically named Democratic Republic of Germany, or East Germany as we knew it in the West before the wall fell. The camera is actually very popular, but most possibly due to its soft pricing and also wide availability. And the Praktica camera range spans a number of models with sometimes very little discernible differences between each. Now in this video I will not delve into the topic of the different versions of the Praktica TL range. We'll just look at this one. My Praktica Super TL1000 came with a Pentacon 50mm f1.8 kit lens, of which I did a video that I will link below and you can go and watch after you watch this one. It is a lens that I absolutely love and is arguably a good enough reason to buy this camera alone. Praktica Super TL1000 features the following specifications. It is a 35mm or 135 format single lens reflex camera and it is manual. The shutter is a focal plane shutter consisting of vertically moving metal shutter blades rather than the horizontally moving fabric curtain style shutters of other manufacturers. It features shutter speeds of bulb to 1/1000th of a second, and that faster shutter speed of this camera possibly informed the model name TL1000. The camera has a rather fast flash sync speed of 1/125th of a second. This camera has no self timer, so selfies is a bit of a problem. The camera has no PC sync or X sync port, and flash can only be triggered from the hot shoe, so you can't use a sync cable from the camera directly. The viewfinder is a pentaprism with a split image rangefinder design for focusing. It features also the needle style light meter in the right hand side, where plus indicates overexposure, minus underexposure and 0 the correct exposure as per the light meter reading. The camera uses the PX625 1.3 mercury battery that is impossible to find these days. But the camera will still function with the following replacement batteries, and they go in there. The equivalent alkaline cell is the LR9 or V625U. The equivalent silver oxide cell is the S625PX, that'll also work. And then the equivalent zinc air cell, the Weincell MRB625, is what I use. They are expensive and they don't last particularly long, but it will work with us. The camera will operate without a battery, except that your light meter won't function. The stop-down coupled light meter functions on a center weighted principle and is activated by depressing a button on the front of the camera, which will then also supply the viewer with a depth of field preview for the selected aperture setting. The camera features ISO settings of 12 ISO all the way to 1600 ISO. The camera uses the M42 lens mount, very popular lens mount. The camera body weighs 550 grams. It's quite light. It is constructed from metal and some plastic and a little bit of glass. Now for my experience with the camera, and this is always the subjective bit of the video. I use the camera for a variety of everyday pics. And I even used it in the studio with my friend Vickers while we were shooting the Yashica LM video a while back. Let's get going. How's this? At this distance, we still get sharp focus on the eyes, but it is very shallow, the depth of field. That's it. I'm going to cut off below his knees. Cross your arms. Now the problem is shooting full length this close at f1.8 is you're going to lose focus somewhere. So you need to choose your focus wisely, and in this case, I choose the eyes always. There you go. See if you move a little bit to your right. There we go, a little bit forward. Really going to work on that Rembrandt triangle that shapes over there. If you have 45-degree light at a 45-degree angle. I really cannot complain about the camera. My first roll had a lot of light leaks, and on further inspection it was clear that the light seals up there had perished, but that's an easy fix, and I could see a marked improvement on the subsequent rolls that I shot. The build is very solid, and although it's square and boxy, it's got a good weight. The leatherette feels more plastic than leather, and the edges are definitely sharper. And the camera feels more like an early 70s camera than an early 80s camera. The levers are tight, the knobs sit like they should, and the shutter, for instance, is clearly superior in hardiness than a Pentax fabric curtain shutter, because it really is obviously a much tougher material. I had to get used to the light meter and shutter release button placement on the front of the camera rather than on the top. But I have to say, this is in fact ergonomically preferable to the conventional design. And in my experience, it gives you just a little bit more of a better grip on the camera. And I've never had to fumble around while down here looking for the shutter button whilst looking through the viewfinder. The light meter operation takes a bit of getting used to, as it adds another step in setting up your shot. I'm used to a K1000 that automatically gives you a light reading, but it is cool that you have that depth of field preview button basically right there. Loading film into the camera is also easy. You have these guide wires and guides here that makes the film actually sit a little bit more securely. I actually do like the option of a self timer, and not for the taking of selfies, but really just for minimizing camera shake when you have long exposures. So that's one thing I miss on there, but that's a very minor gripe. The viewfinder is bright and the focus matrix is easy to understand and use. Like I said, the dials is a bit noisy, especially every time you move something, there's definitely a noise. But that doesn't faze me too much. The shutter, if we put it on like a 30th, 60th actually, it's noisy, but it's not terrible. It's actually less than I would have expected. If you want to spend as little money as possible on a 35mm film camera, I would say buy this camera. You're going to be spending a lot of money on film and processing, so if you can save a bit of money on the camera, this is definitely one way to do it. If you're new to film photography, it's easy to understand and easy to use. You can do any genre of photography with this camera, and part of the reason that it is so appealing to me is the M42 mount. There are so many lenses available at really good prices, so anything from a Takumar to a Helios lens will fit on this camera, and that will really make this camera a tool of creativity for you. If you enjoyed this video, then please press like, please subscribe, please comment if you have this camera, if you've got experience with the camera, share about it. If you've got questions or anything, really just put it down below, and even if I can't answer it, I'm sure somebody else who is viewing this video can. With that, really, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.